Hi there. One evening, a young woman heads to her favorite cafe just to escape her thoughts and break away from routine. She never could have imagined that she'd accidentally run into her colleague there. Their conversation becomes unexpectedly deep, and their glances grow a little too personal. But before you get comfortable, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel. And let me know in the comments where you're watching from and what time it is right now. I love seeing who's joined us. Now, make yourself comfortable. We're getting started. Laura gazed at her reflection in the tall bedroom mirror. She was 25, with long chestnut hair falling in loose waves over her slender shoulders. Her blue eyes, framed by thick lashes, shimmered with a subtle, restless energy. Laura's body had the gentle curves of an hourglass. Her breasts were a graceful, natural C-cup. Her waist narrow, her hips full and round, giving her a perfectly feminine silhouette. Tonight, she wore a simple but elegant light blue dress, hugging her body in just the right places. Beneath it, she had chosen a set of delicate lace lingerie in pale pink, the bra enhancing her curves, the panties soft and barely there. She liked how she looked, even if she rarely allowed herself to admit it. Downstairs, her husband Tom was pouring wine. He was 30, with a tall, athletic build, dark hair kept just a little longer on top, and an easy smile. He wore jeans and a fitted shirt, looking relaxed and confident. The house was quiet, just the two of them. Tom had set the table for dinner, and as Laura walked in, he handed her a glass of white wine, kissing her softly on the cheek. "How was your day?" he asked. Laura smiled. "Long, but now much better." The evening unfolded in comfortable routine. Light conversation, laughter, shared glances across the table. It was a slice of domestic bliss that Laura knew she was lucky to have. Yet, beneath the surface, she felt something fluttering, a longing for a spark, for a breath of something new. Later, Laura's phone buzzed with a message. She glanced at it quickly, her face unreadable. Tom didn't notice, absorbed in telling her about a new project at work. Laura tucked the phone away, her mind wandering for a moment. Their world was filled with people, friends, colleagues, neighbors. Laura's closest friend, Emma, was petite and sunny, with blonde hair always in a playful ponytail. They often went shopping or for coffee after yoga class, talking about everything and nothing. Then there was Mike, one of Laura's colleagues at the design studio. Tall, with warm brown eyes and a mischievous grin. He always had a story to tell, and Laura liked the way he listened to hers. Tom's mother, Sarah, often visited on weekends, bringing home-baked cookies and a stream of gentle questions about their life. The next-door neighbor, Brad, sometimes waved as he walked his dog in the evenings. Jessica, Laura's friend from the gym, was sharp and athletic, her energy contagious. Even the local barista, Chris, always greeted Laura by name, handing her a perfectly made cappuccino. But tonight was just Tom and Laura, alone in their shared sanctuary. As the dishes were cleared and the house settled into quiet, Laura slipped into their bedroom. Tom followed, closing the door behind him. He wrapped his arms around her from behind, his hands gliding over the soft fabric of her dress. Laura leaned into him, her breath catching as he brushed her hair aside and pressed a gentle kiss to her neck. She turned to face him, her cheeks flushed, her blue eyes shining. Tom's hands slid lower, tracing the curve of her waist, then her hips. He whispered her name, his lips moving along her jawline. Laura's heart raced as his fingers found the zipper at her back, slowly lowering it until the dress slipped from her shoulders and pulled at her feet, revealing her pale pink lace lingerie. Tom looked at her, appreciation and desire in his gaze. Laura felt beautiful, cherished. Their kisses grew deeper, more urgent, hands exploring familiar curves, skin meeting skin in the soft light of the bedroom. For a while the world outside ceased to exist, and they lost themselves in each other, wrapped in warmth and gentle passion. Later, lying side by side in the dimly lit room, Laura stared up at the ceiling. She felt Tom's arm draped across her waist, his breathing already slowing with sleep. Laura smiled softly, but her thoughts wandered, just a little, toward that fluttering longing she could not name. Tomorrow, the routine would continue, but tonight, there was still time to dream. In the days that followed, Laura's restlessness only grew. It was subtle at first, a lingering glance at her own reflection, the careful selection of lingerie each morning, the quiet thrill she felt when someone noticed her. She found herself spending more time in front of her wardrobe, running her hands over soft fabrics and silks, choosing outfits that felt just a little more daring than usual. One morning she slipped into a fitted white blouse with a deep V-neck and a sleek black pencil skirt that hugged her hips. Underneath she wore a new lingerie set, dark purple, with a lace bra that lifted her breasts just so, and matching panties with a delicate bow at the back. She admired herself in the mirror, noting the way her curves filled the clothes, the way the lace peeked out ever so slightly when she moved. She texted Emma as she headed to work. "Laura, trying something new today. Wish me luck." "Emma, you always look amazing. Go get 'em, gorgeous." At the studio, Mike was already there, reviewing sketches on his tablet. He looked up, eyes flickering over Laura's outfit with open admiration. "Wow, you look incredible today," he said, a smile playing at the corner of his mouth. Laura felt heat rise to her cheeks. "Thank you, Mike. I guess I just wanted to feel good." They worked together most of the day, close but never quite touching. Mike was taller than most men Laura knew, with broad shoulders and an easy confidence. His warm brown eyes lingered on her more often than usual. Between them, a current of energy hummed, one Laura tried not to acknowledge, but could not ignore. Lunch hour found them alone in the break room. Laura stood at the counter, pouring coffee, when Mike leaned in beside her. "You've been different lately," he said softly, his voice gentle. "Happier, maybe. Or just glowing." Laura laughed, but there was something real in his words. She could feel it herself, an awakening, a sense of being noticed. After lunch, Laura walked back to her desk, her mind spinning. She remembered Tom's voice the night before, the warmth of his touch, and for a moment felt a pang of guilt. But it quickly faded as Mike appeared in her thoughts again. His compliments, his nearness. That afternoon, Emma dropped by the studio, her blonde ponytail swinging as she stepped inside. She wore a bright green tank top and leggings, her petite frame radiating confidence. "Hey, Laura, you coming to yoga tonight?" "I think I'll have to skip," Laura replied, glancing at her phone. "Too much work." Emma grinned, but there was a searching look in her eyes. "You know, you can tell me anything. Right. Laura nodded, but said nothing more. Emma squeezed her hand before leaving. Back at her desk, Laura's phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number. "You're beautiful when you think no one's watching." Her breath caught. She looked around, half expecting to find someone watching. But everyone seemed busy with their work. She saved the message, unsure what to make of it. Later that evening, Laura returned home. She changed out of her work clothes and slipped into a soft lilac camisole and white cotton shorts, the fabric cool against her skin. She poured herself a glass of wine and stood out on the patio, watching the sky darken. Tom arrived home a little later than usual. He greeted her with a hug, but Laura could sense the distance between them. A distance she knew she had helped create. They talked about their days, but Laura's mind was elsewhere, drifting between memories of Mike's voice and the mysterious text message. That night, she dreamed of a different life, one where she felt endlessly desired, where someone whispered secret compliments in her ear, traced the lines of her body with reverence. The dream became vivid. She stood in a softly lit room, wearing nothing but her dark purple lace lingerie, her hair falling in loose waves down her back. Mike approached her, his hands gentle but sure as he traced the straps of her bra, letting his fingers glide over the smooth skin of her shoulders. Laura felt her breath quicken as he cupped her waist, pulling her close, their bodies almost touching, but not quite. The air shimmered with anticipation. He brushed his lips along the curve of her neck, his voice a warm whisper. She closed her eyes, savoring the sensation, the mix of guilt, longing, and pleasure. In the dream, Laura felt powerful, beautiful, and alive. She woke up breathless, the room quiet except for Tom's steady breathing beside her. In the morning, Laura got ready for work with more care than usual. She chose a sky blue wrap dress, its neckline dipping low, the soft fabric clinging to her figure. Underneath, she wore a new bra, white, embroidered with tiny blue flowers, and matching panties. She twirled once before the mirror, smiling at her own reflection. As she left the house, Laura felt eyes on her, not just Tom's, but the world's. And for the first time in a long while, she wanted that attention. She needed it. At the studio, Mike greeted her with a knowing smile. They worked side by side, the tension between them growing with every shared glance and accidental touch. By lunch, Laura received another message. "You don't even know how beautiful you are." Her heart pounded. She did not know who sent it, but a secret part of her hoped it was Mike. She felt herself flush with excitement and just a little fear. That evening, as she left the studio, Mike offered to walk her to her car. The sunset cast warm gold across the parking lot. "Laura," he said quietly, "if you ever need someone to talk to, I'm here." Their hands brushed as she got into her car, and for a brief moment, Laura let herself imagine what might happen if she did not drive away. But she did, smiling, heart racing, wondering if anyone else could see how much her life was beginning to change. Friday evening arrived with a restless hush. Laura had planned to spend the night with Tom, but he called from work, apologizing for a late meeting. She assured him it was fine, though a part of her felt strangely relieved. As she stood by the window, dusk falling across the backyard, her phone vibrated again. A new message from the same unknown number. "You deserve more than routine. Why not let yourself live?" Laura hesitated only a moment before typing back. "Who are you?" No answer came. The silence was thrilling and unnerving. Trying to distract herself, Laura decided to visit her favorite cafe, an inviting, softly lit place she often went to think. She put on a crimson-wrapped dress that accentuated her waist and revealed just enough décolleté, pairing it with black heels. Underneath, she wore a new black satin bra, the cups gently lifting her curves, and matching panties that fit snugly around her hips. She pulled her hair into a loose bun, a few chestnut strands framing her face. The cafe was cozy, the air thick with the scent of fresh coffee and vanilla. Laura ordered a cappuccino and found a corner seat. She was scrolling through her phone when a familiar voice startled her. "Mind if I join you?" It was Mike, holding his own mug, his dark eyes filled with something more than friendly warmth. He wore a simple white shirt, sleeves rolled up, forearms lean and tan. His brown hair was tousled, his smile almost shy. "Of course," Laura replied, her heart thumping. They talked, at first about work, then about everything else. With each shared story, each laugh, the space between them shrank. Mike's compliments became more personal. Laura felt her defenses dissolve. For the first time, she allowed herself to see him not just as a friend or colleague, but as a man who desired her. As the evening wore on, the cafe grew quieter. Laura realized she was leaning closer, her voice softer, her laughter lingering. Mike reached out, letting his fingers brush hers, lightly at first, then more deliberately. The touch sent a spark up her arm. "I've wanted to do this for a while," he murmured. Before Laura could respond, he leaned in, his lips finding hers. His kiss was gentle, hesitant, then deepened as she responded. Laura's mind raced with excitement and guilt, but her body answered for her. Their kisses grew hungrier, Laura's hand slipping to Mike's neck, drawing him closer. She could feel the strength in his arms as he guided her, both aware of the world around them, but no longer caring. They left the cafe, walking to Mike's car in silence. The tension between them was electric. In the privacy of his car, Mike reached for Laura again, his hand cupping her cheek. She met him eagerly, their lips and hands exploring with urgency. Laura's dress slid off one shoulder, exposing the strap of her satin bra. Mike's fingers traced her collarbone, moving down to the curve of her breast, his touch delicate and reverent. Laura shivered as he kissed her neck, his breath warm against her skin. Their bodies pressed together in the confined space, every movement filled with longing and discovery. For a moment, nothing else existed. No rules, no guilt, just the heat of their closeness. When they finally parted, breathless and slightly disheveled, Laura stared out the window, heart pounding. She had crossed a line. Guilt mingled with exhilaration, a cocktail of emotions she had never tasted before. They sat in silence, letting the reality of what happened settle. Mike squeezed her hand. "Are you okay?" Laura nodded, unable to speak. As she slipped out of the car, Laura caught sight of a familiar face in the glow of the streetlights. Emma. She was walking by, her eyes wide as they met Laura's. There was a flicker of shock, then Emma turned quickly, hurrying away without a word. Laura felt cold dread wash over her. What had she done? What had Emma seen? At home, Tom was still not back. Laura showered, the water hot on her skin. But nothing could wash away the memory of Mike's hands, his mouth, his scent. She dressed in her favorite pajamas, a soft grey tank top and loose shorts, and curled up in bed. But sleep would not come. Her phone buzzed again. "You're more alive than you think." Laura pressed the phone to her chest, fighting tears and a trembling smile. She did not know who she was becoming, only that everything had changed. Emma's face haunted her thoughts. Shock, disappointment, maybe even betrayal. Laura's chest tightened. She had always trusted Emma, but now she was terrified of what might happen next. Morning brought no answers, only fresh waves of anxiety and longing. Laura looked at Tom as he slept beside her, guilt twisting inside. Yet beneath it, a strange power simmered, the memory of her own desires no longer hidden in dreams. For the first time, she wondered, what would she do now that the secret was no longer only hers? Laura's world became a maze of secrets. After that night, nothing felt the same. She watched Emma closely at work and at yoga, searching for signs that her friend might speak out. But Emma's smiles were thin, her conversations short. The silence between them grew wider every day. Yet Laura's heart beat to a new rhythm, a mix of anticipation and dread. Each morning she took extra care with her appearance, choosing her clothes with secret purpose. One day, she wore a fitted sage green dress that brought out her eyes, its fabric hugging her curves and ending just above her knees. Beneath it, her lingerie was pale gold, a delicate lace bra that framed her breasts beautifully, and high-cut panties that accentuated her rounded hips and firm, shapely bottom. Her hair tumbled in loose, shining waves, and she applied a touch of berry gloss to her lips. In the mirror, she saw both a stranger and herself. At the studio, Mike was distant, as if afraid their secret would surface. He smiled, but his eyes darted away when anyone passed by. The weight of what they had shared pressed down on them both. Even a simple brush of hands as they reached for the same paint sample sent Laura's heart racing. During lunch, Laura checked her phone. Another message from the unknown number. "Secrets always come to light. Are you ready?" She shivered. The messages were no longer flattering. Now they felt like a warning. She found Emma in the break room and tried to speak. "Emma, can we talk?" Emma looked up, her blue eyes guarded. "Are you sure you want to?" The conversation never happened. Emma left before Laura could find the words, leaving behind only her untouched coffee. That afternoon, a new figure appeared in Laura's life. A man she had never seen before, tall and sharply dressed, with close-cropped hair and a piercing stare. He met with Mike in the lobby. Their conversation was quiet, tense. But Laura caught the stranger glancing her way more than once. She hurried home early, her nerves stretched taut. In the safety of her bedroom, Laura changed into a flowing ivory nightgown that caressed her body, sliding over her skin like cool water. She gazed at her reflection, the soft fabric hinting at the gentle swell of her breasts, the curve of her waist, her bare shoulders. Her hair, loosened, cascaded down her back. That night, Laura's dreams were vivid, painted with longing and guilt. She found herself in a sunlit room, wearing only her golden lingerie, her skin glowing against the pale bedding. Mike was there, standing at the foot of the bed, his eyes roaming over her body with awe and hunger. He approached, kneeling beside her, his hands warm as they traced the outline of her thigh, moving slowly upward. Laura's breath hitched as his fingers found the edge of her panties, his touch gentle, lingering. He leaned in, pressing a kiss to her hip, then her stomach, then finally to her lips. Their bodies entwined, the world fading around them. Laura felt herself dissolve into sensation, pleasure and pain, love and betrayal, all woven together in the heat of their closeness. The air shimmered with the promise of something forbidden and sweet. She woke in darkness, tangled in her sheets, her skin flushed, her heart racing. Tom lay beside her, still and silent. Laura listened to his breathing, feeling the weight of the dream settle into her bones. Morning light brought no relief. Instead, Laura's phone buzzed again. This time, the message was a photo, a blurry shot of her leaving the cafe with Mike, their faces close, the intimacy obvious. Her blood ran cold. Panicked, Laura hurried to Emma's apartment before work. Emma opened the door in leggings and a blue crop top, her hair pulled back in a messy bun. "Emma, please, I need to know. Are you sending me those messages?" Emma shook her head, eyes wide and honest. "No, Laura, I saw you that night. I was shocked. But I'm not the one haunting you." Laura believed her, though the knot of fear inside her only tightened. At work, Mike was visibly shaken. He pulled Laura aside. "There's someone new in the company. Jackson. He's from corporate. He asked about us." Laura's stomach twisted. "Do you think he knows?" "I do not know, but we should be careful." The day passed in a haze. Laura saw Jackson in the hallway, always watching, always silent. She wondered if he was the source of her torment, or if someone else was pulling the strings. That night, Laura skipped yoga and wandered the neighborhood alone, her thoughts heavy. She passed by the familiar faces of her world. Jessica jogging in sleek black shorts and a crimson sports bra. Brad walking his golden retriever. Chris waving from the cafe window. All of them smiled. But Laura wondered what secrets they kept. Returning home, she checked her phone once more. "You cannot hide forever." Laura stared at the message, heart pounding, her mind swirling with questions. Who was doing this? Why? Was it a threat, a warning, or something else entirely? She did not have the answer. But as she stood in the darkness, Laura realized one thing. The secrets she kept were no longer safe. Someone was watching. Someone knew. And she was no longer certain that her world could ever be the same. The days blurred as Laura's anxiety grew. She was constantly on edge, waiting for the next message or the next knowing glance from a colleague. At home, her restlessness was noticed. Tom watched her more closely. His easygoing smile replaced by furrowed brows. The unspoken tension built with each passing evening. One Saturday morning, as Laura prepared breakfast in a simple white tank top and pale blue shorts, Tom stood leaning against the kitchen doorway, arms crossed. "Laura, can we talk?" he asked, his voice softer than usual. She turned, feigning a casual smile. "Of course. What's up?" Tom hesitated. "I feel like I do not know you lately. You are always distracted. There is something between us, and I cannot figure out what it is." Laura's heart pounded. She wanted to reach out to reassure him, but words failed. Instead, She busied herself with the coffee maker. He stepped closer. "If there is something you are not telling me, please. I want to help. I want to understand." Just then, Laura's phone buzzed on the counter. Tom glanced at it. "Who keeps messaging you so late at night?" he asked, pain flickering in his eyes. "It is nothing, Tom. Just spam. I promise." Laura lied, her voice shaking. He sighed, defeated, and left the room. Laura pressed her hand to her chest, feeling the guilt mount. Unable to bear it any longer, she called Emma and asked to meet. They sat in the park, away from prying eyes. Emma wore a light yellow sundress, her petite figure perched on the bench, knees drawn up. "Emma, I need your help," Laura pleaded. "Someone is tormenting me. It's not you, I know that now. But I feel like I'm losing my mind." Emma looked at her, expression torn between anger and sympathy. "You did hurt me, Laura. I never thought you could keep something so big from me. But you are still my friend. I will help you if you are honest." Laura nodded, tears brimming. "I made a mistake. I do not know how to fix it." Emma squeezed her hand. "First, you have to talk to Tom. Secrets never stay hidden, Laura. And you deserve better than to be haunted by them." That night, Laura returned home, her mind made up. Tom was in the living room, scrolling through his phone. Laura approached quietly, her heart in her throat. "Tom, can we talk?" she whispered. He looked up, wary but open. Laura sat beside him, her body trembling. "I have not been honest with you. I got lost. I wanted to feel seen, to feel alive. And I did something I regret." Tom's expression crumbled. "Did you? With someone else?" Laura nodded, tears spilling down her cheeks. "It was a mistake. I'm sorry." For a long moment, Tom said nothing. The silence was sharp, painful. Laura thought he might leave, or shout, or cry. But instead, Tom reached for her hand. "I wish you had come to me," he said quietly. "I wish you had told me how you felt." Laura sobbed, clutching his hand. "I still love you, Tom. I want to fix this if you'll let me." He pulled her into his arms, holding her tightly. They sat together, the storm passing overhead, but not between them. Later, as the night grew darker, Laura found Tom in the bedroom, sitting on the edge of the bed. She wore a soft lavender camisole and matching satin shorts, her hair loose around her shoulders, face fresh and tear-streaked, but hopeful. Tom looked at her, his eyes filled with sadness and longing. She crossed the room slowly and sat beside him, placing her hand on his knee. He turned to her, searching her face for truth. Laura leaned in, pressing her lips gently to his, tasting the salt of her own tears. Tom's arms wrapped around her, drawing her close. They kissed again, more deeply this time, the connection raw and real. Tom's hand found her waist, his fingers tracing gentle circles on her skin. Laura shivered as he pulled her closer, their bodies fitting together in a familiar, comforting way. She let her head rest on his chest, feeling his heart race. Tom lifted her chin, meeting her gaze, then kissed her with a tenderness that made Laura ache. They lay back together on the bed, bodies entwined, rediscovering each other in the soft moonlight. Every touch was a promise to try again. Every kiss, an apology and a hope. For a while there was no past or future, only the warmth and forgiveness in their closeness. As they lay side by side, Tom brushed a strand of hair from Laura's face. "Well, we cannot go back," he whispered, "but we can move forward. If we are honest with each other." Laura nodded, wiping her tears and breathing more freely than she had in weeks. The next day, Laura returned to work with a sense of fragile hope, but the world had not forgotten her secrets. In the hallway, she overheard Jessica and Brad whispering, their eyes flicking in her direction. "Did you hear? Something happened between Laura and Mike," Jessica said, her voice low. Laura's cheeks burned. She hurried past, avoiding their eyes. It seemed her private turmoil was no longer private. In the parking lot, Mike caught up to her, his face pale. "Jackson called me in for a meeting. I think he knows everything." Laura's stomach twisted with dread. "What will you do?" Mike shook his head. "I do not know, but I am sorry, Laura, for everything." By the time Laura reached home, a new message waited for her. "The truth is coming. Be ready." Laura stared at the screen, her nerves raw and exposed. The conflict was no longer just inside her. Now it threatened to consume everything she loved. The days following Laura's confession felt like standing at the edge of a storm, waiting for the thunder to break. The tension in the air was almost tangible. At work, whispers followed her down the hallways. Colleagues who once greeted her warmly now barely met her eyes. Emma stayed by her side, but even her presence felt different. Protective, but wary. Tom, too, was changed. There was a distance in his gaze, as if he was looking at Laura through a veil. They spoke quietly at home, careful to avoid any topic that might reopen wounds. Still, there was a gentleness in Tom's actions. He made her coffee in the mornings, left little notes for her on the kitchen table, and sometimes reached for her hand in the quiet darkness before sleep. It was not forgiveness, not yet, but it was a beginning. One afternoon, Laura was called into a meeting with Jackson, the new corporate manager. He was sitting at the head of the table, sharp eyes fixed on her. Mike was already there, looking exhausted. "Laura," Jackson began, "I will not pretend I do not know what has been going on. This company values privacy, but it values honesty even more." Laura's pulse raced. "I'm sorry, Jackson. It was never meant to affect our work." Jackson nodded, expression unreadable. "I believe you, but someone has been making trouble. You have been receiving messages, yes?" Laura hesitated, then nodded. "Yes, threats, photos." Jackson leaned forward. "Do you have any idea who?" She shook her head. "No. At first, I thought it was a friend. Now, I do not know." He turned to Mike, who shook his head too. Jackson sighed. "We received an anonymous tip about your relationship. Whoever sent it left a digital trail, a rookie mistake." He slid a folder across the table. Laura opened it with trembling hands. Inside were printed emails, text logs, and a final, unmistakable clue. All the evidence pointed not to a stranger but to Jessica. Jessica, her friend from the gym. The one with the fierce eyes and contagious energy, who always seemed to know a little too much about everyone. Laura's mind spun with the memory of Jessica's half-hidden smiles, her probing questions, the way she had watched Laura and Mike in the break room. The pieces fit together in a chilling click. Jackson continued, Jessica was jealous, Laura. Of you, of Mike. She thought if she exposed you, she would get what she wanted. Laura's hands shook as she remembered the photo messages, the notes. She felt anger, fear, and a strange relief. The mystery had a face. Jackson closed the folder. Jessica is no longer with the company. You are free to move forward, if you wish. Outside the office, Mike caught Laura's arm. I'm sorry. I should never have let it go this far. Laura looked at him for a long moment, searching his eyes for something she could not name. It is over, Mike. I need to fix things at home. I hope you do too. Mike nodded, sadness and acceptance passing over his features. That evening, Laura walked home in the golden light of dusk, the city alive around her. She passed Chris at the cafe, who waved, and Brad on his porch, who smiled gently. Emma texted her, "You did the right thing. Proud of you." For the first time in weeks, Laura felt something close to peace. At home, Tom was sitting on the back porch, watching the sky fade from pink to violet. Laura joined him, folding her legs beneath her on the old wooden bench. They sat in silence for a while, the sounds of the neighborhood drifting in around them. Finally, Tom spoke. I do not know if I can forget, Laura, but I do know I still love you. Laura's eyes filled with tears. She reached for his hand, entwining their fingers. She leaned against his shoulder, and Tom wrapped his arm around her, pulling her close. They sat together as the sun slipped below the horizon, warmth and forgiveness blooming in the quiet between them. Tom kissed her forehead, his lips gentle. Laura turned to face him, and for a moment, their eyes held a promise, a future not of perfection, but of honesty. They shared a long, tender kiss, letting the rest of the world fall away. The embrace was slow, careful, and filled with a sense of rediscovery. In that closeness, Laura felt hope, delicate but real. The next morning, Laura woke to sunlight streaming through the window. She moved quietly through the house, her heart lighter than it had been in months. She made coffee, set the table, and left a note for Tom. Let's start again, together. On her way to work, Laura paused in front of the mirror. She wore a simple sky blue dress that hugged her figure, her hair loose and shining, her favorite white lace bra and matching panties hidden beneath. She smiled at her reflection, not the smile of someone without regrets, but of someone ready to face whatever came next. When she reached her desk at the studio, Laura found a small handwritten note waiting for her. The past is only a story. The future is yours to write. She did not know who had left it, but for the first time the message felt comforting, not ominous. The secrets, the shame, and the shadows were behind her. Ahead, Laura saw the outline of a new life. Imperfect, honest, and filled with possibility. And as she stepped forward, she carried with her the lessons of love, loss, and forgiveness. Her heart opened to whatever stories waited just beyond the horizon.